Hello. We are coming back to page 48 of the Phantom Tollbooth, where the king has adopted Rhyme and Reason, two beautiful princesses. We'll call this one Rhyme and this one Reason, he said, and so they became the Princess of Sweet Rhyme and the Princess of Pure Reason and were brought up in the palace. When the old king finally died, the kingdom was divided between his two sons, with the provision that they would be equally responsible for the welfare of the young princesses. One son went south and became Azaz, the unabridged king of Dictionopolis, and the other went north and became the math magician, ruler of Digitopolis. And, true to their words, they both provided well for the little girls, who continued to live in wisdom. Everyone loved the princesses because of their great beauty, their gentle ways, and their ability to settle all controversies fairly and reasonably. People with problems or grievances or arguments came from all over the land to seek advice. And even the two brothers, who by this time were fighting continuously, often called upon them to help decide matters of state. It was said by everyone that Rhyme and Reason answer all problems. And here are the lovely princesses, Rhyme and Reason. As the years passed, the two brothers grew farther and farther apart, and their separate kingdoms became richer and grander. Their disputes, however, became more and more difficult to reconcile, but always, with patience and love, the princesses set things right. Then one day they had the most terrible quarrel of all. King Azaz insisted that words were far more significant than numbers, and hence his kingdom was truly the greater, and the math magician claimed that numbers were much more important than words, and hence his kingdom was supreme. They discussed and debated and raved and ranted until they were on the verge of blows, when it was decided to submit the question to arbitration by the princesses. After days of careful consideration in which all the evidence was weighed and all the witnesses heard, they made their decision. Words and numbers are of equal value, for in the cloak of knowledge one is warp and the other woof. It is no more important to count the sands than it is to name the stars. Therefore let both kingdoms live in peace. Everyone was pleased with the verdict, everyone, that is, but the brothers, who were beside themselves with anger. What good are these girls if they cannot settle an argument in someone's favor? They growled, since both were more interested in their own advantage than in the truth. We'll banish them from the kingdom forever. And so they were taken from the palace and sent far away to the castle in the air, and they have not been seen since. That is why today, in all this land, there is neither rhyme nor reason. That was supposed to be the witch's voice. And what happened to the two rulers, asked Milo. I'll go back to the witchy voice. Banishing the two princesses was the last thing they ever agreed upon, and they soon fell into warring with each other. Despite this, their own kingdoms have continued to prosper, but the old city of wisdom has fallen into great disrepair, and there is no one to set things right. So, you see, until the princesses return, I shall have to stay here. Maybe we can rescue them, said Milo, as he saw how sad the witch looked. Oh, that would be difficult, she replied. The castle in the air is far from here, and the one stairway that leads to it is guarded by fierce and black-hearted demons. Ooh. Tok growled ominously, for he hated even the thought of demons. I'm afraid there's not much a little boy and a dog can do, she said. But never you mind. It's not so bad. I've grown quite used to it here. But you must be going, or else you'll waste the whole day. Oh, we're here for 6 million years, sighed Milo, and I don't see any way to escape. Nonsense, scolded the witch. You mustn't take Officer Shrift so seriously. He loves to put people in prison, but he doesn't care about keeping them there. Now just press that button in the wall and you'll be on your way. Milo pressed the button and the door swung open, letting in a shaft of brilliant sunshine. Goodbye, come again, shouted the witch as they stepped outside and the door slammed shut. Milo and Tock stood blinking in the bright light as their eyes became accustomed to it. The first thing they saw were the king's advisors again rushing toward them. Ah, there you are. Where have you been? We've been looking all over for you. The royal banquet is about to begin. Come with us. They seemed very agitated and out of breath as Milo walked along with them. But what about my car? He asked. Don't need it, replied the Duke. No use for it, said the minister. Superfluous, advised the Count. Unnecessary, stated the Earl. Uncalled for, cried the Undersecretary. We'll take our vehicle. Conveyance, rig, char-a-banc, chariot, buggy, coach, brougham, chandriadon. They repeated quickly in order. All those synonyms. And pointed to a small wooden wagon. Oh dear, all those words again, thought Milo as he climbed into the wagon with Tock and the cabinet members. How are you going to make it move? It doesn't have a... Be very quiet, advised the Duke, for it goes without saying. So funny. And sure enough, as soon as they were all quiet, quite still, it began to move quickly through the streets. And in a very short time, they arrived at the royal palace. I love all the play on words. So then next time, we'll start with Chapter 7, The Royal Banquet. Until then...